Wait, Alexa, when's my next meeting? Your next meeting with John is at 8 p.m. I need to pick up the kids at 5 p.m. Can you block my calendar after 4:30 p.m.? Certainly. Before at 1 p.m. I booked a reservation at 1 p.m. in Casa Mexico. So, she's Kelsey's the special guest on Good Morning America tomorrow morning. Better set your alarm.
Dear fellows, Easy Path. Let's see how old Easy Path is I'm looking at. This is the Easy Path tool. It's an invoice. I think it's in New Jersey invoice. This is my PA. The other one is New Jersey. So I gotta try to pay them. Let's try to pay the invoice. So right there, I'm gonna try to pay the invoice. Say it right there.
What unfolds on this June is and sees Alex Murdoch go from being victim of horrific crime to the accused in multiple crimes. Your Honor, we have all of your disgraced attorney. These kinds of people are unmovable, but they put on a really amazing show. They're smart, they're fun, they're warm, they're manipulative, they're cheaters. In multitudes of ways, I think he's seen everyone.
My daddy has this old saying, son, says, just because you don't pay me, doesn't mean I do.
This is a man of huge appetites in every way. You portray every single one of them.
There's no feeling this hard that he was doing. You know what I mean? The reason I say more than I was never out of this, so that's see.
I love you. You're fun. I love you. Please pull yourself together. characters are so three-dimensional. It's not just victim perpetrator. There's much more depth. Absolutely. But we felt like Maggie Rock was she was the matriarch of this family, and so we needed to know more. You what drew you to that? Well respected.
And I told you to fall back.
That is it. Started to unravel. It was so hard to imagine on the night of the murder. When the sheriff's deputies realized they're dealing with the Murdoch family, they decided to call an escape agency to South Carolina state law enforcement division known as SLED.
With that, they are asked to take the lead on this investigation because they are state's top police agency.
Everybody.
Ellen Murdoch is the fourth
Direction the entire world.
and so there's no
Understand. Yeah, we got more I've been thinking, I've been seeing this over and over.
We're talking out of here, you guys. I'm so sorry to our former president. This issue about burning in this country is getting so much down. Our former president hall is getting burned. Just imagine, guys, the desert is happening now. I'm very disappointed.
Alex started sobbing that he was smiling. He found
Hey, what did y'all just stop up in the shop for? Look up what says on these right now. I thought you go up. What would I do is illegal? We not stand for. Hey, what did y'all just stop up in the shop?
You can never compare yourself with none of my girlfriends that I'm friends with. Any girl you see I'm friends with, that I'm close to.
the investigator said.
And that we actually called to let her know he's leaving, but he had gotten two spots.
Investigators asked Alex, is there anyone who would want to kill his family?
Ginger, what it is?
Crisis in war.
He said that Paul was receiving threats. This is not the first time that Alex did that Maggie Paul was killed because of the boat accident. He starts telling officers, whoever will listen, that there was a boat crash. This is a long story.
What? That's what we did. Younger generation. Oh boy.
They actually have HER2 low metastatic breast cancer. That's why.
The scripture tells us when you have old, you get that there's always dropping that crisis. And if people end up suffering.
You read the Burlington lately? And in your life, you feel
I can't be this.
you want Bootsoo? You want to come to Cynthia?
Where's that? Where's their location and address?
We're all in the building. You want food?
Hi. Nice hat. The recommended.
Spartanburg, South Carolina. South Carolina. What is this?
Does this country have free education policy for all citizens?
This is awesome. Wow.
But yet, but how you gonna do it and for all this opening prayer?
This
Demonstrate
local program will save you thousands of dollars on a kitchen makeover.
Kitchen and
If you have
furniture.
kitchen
Oh my
cabinets over
God,
5
nice
years old and
appliances.
live in an eligible zip code, you could save a fortune on cabinet refacing with the Revolution Kitchens Makeover Program.
out
With a
there demonstrating came from the womb of the womb.
Hampton is a very small town in South Carolina, in the low country of South Carolina. There's a faithful church. There's a beautiful farm. There's a picnic grocery store. It's a quiet town. Everybody told everybody that's.
Watch my papa can keep imagine this show like imagine this show. So watch my papa can keep imagine this show like imagine this show. Let's be serious for one. For me, I don't understand why, like when people, why do we always have to keep a secret?
On Fanatics Casino.
How far is that much you can get? Hey,
Oh yeah, minute. And for that casino, explain. Every
Wow, this is nice.
After law school, he came back to work.
The firm is also the family business, a private law practice with an footprint in Hampton for more than a
Yeah.
century.
Let's do that.
In addition to their civil firm, the Murdochs also serve as house solicitors. We happen to our administrator, and it goes back a very long time.
For 85 consecutive years.
Every holiday fit needs that finishing touch, and Ralph's Love New York is that piece that brings it all together. So whether it's a casual coffee run, a weekend brunch, a date night dinner,
Gets you out of it. The name still brings respect or fear to some people.
But in 2019, the influence of the Murdoch name would be tested.
Yeah.
It all started when Alex son Paul and 5 of his friends head out for
And then they-
Paul, who was 19 at the time, was from father, Alex Murdoch's president. And it was a 17-foot center console though, so it wasn't very big for 6 kids.
Who are paid by he being himself.
And they went out on boats all the time.
Paul Murdoch was there with his girlfriend, Morgan.
Okay.
Anthony Cook was there with his girlfriend, Natalie Beach. And Anthony's first cousin, Connor Cook, was with his girlfriend, Miley Goldman. They were all together that night because the girls wanted.
No, just send it all.
The girls mixed a couple of stuff
See.
that night.
He said, many are called, a few are choosing, you know them by their works.
Then to the local bar where Paul continues to drink before finally getting back.
I started.
We need to gather together and do special fasting and prayers. Special fasting and prayers. After God, I never, I will give up on it. Yeah.
No, let's see.
I will appreciate it. I've been down. What's happening in the world? Okay. God bless them.
And they are telling you that Connor drive, you can't drive.
Donald Trump has responded to questions from reporters on whether he would pardon Sean Diddy Combs if he is found guilty. Would you ever consider pardoning?
Sure. Diddy asked President Trump for pardon.
Nobody's asked. I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think
Diddy
some people have been very
pardon.
close to asking.
Yeah,
First of all, I
pardon from
look
President
at
Trump.
what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too
I've
closely,
seen
although it's
pardon
certainly
from
getting a lot of
President Trump.
coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years.
Pardon from President Trump.
He used to really like me a lot. I think when I ran for politics, he sort of that relationship busted up from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Donald Trump has responded to questions from reporters on whether he would.
We're now learning when Sean Diddy Combs could be out of prison. The music mogul is serving a 15-month sentence for interstate prostitution, but federal inmate records now show he's set to be released on May 8th, 2028. He's been detained since his arrest last September. Combs' attorney says they expect to appeal the sentence. We're now learning when Sean Diddy Combs could be out of prison. The music mogul is serving a
May
50-month sentence for
2028, he'll be
interstate
released from
prostitution,
prison.
but federal inmate records now show he's set to be released on May 8th, 2028. He's been detained since his arrest last September. Combs' attorney says they expect to appeal his sentence. We're now learning when Sean Diddy Combs. We're now learning when Sean Diddy
gonna
Combs.
be released. Is it as a son? Do you celebrate King's School as a son?
When God knows you deserve better, He will make
The most overpriced things he said he was going to be released as son.
These boots are made from a single.
Yeah, no wonder he was going to be released.
If you're anything like me, prayer might not always be the easiest thing for you to do. Now, I've been a Christian my entire life, but even still, sometimes prayer is.
Sean
2028.
Diddy Combs was transferred to the federal prison in Fort Dix, New Jersey yesterday, where he will start to serve the rest of his 50-month sentence. Combs had been held at a detention center in Brooklyn. He was convicted in July on 2 counts of interstate prostitution. Combs is slated to be released in May of 2028, but could be released earlier for good behavior.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget you can catch the Today Show 8:20. Ain't going to school tomorrow.
NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Before you ask, because I am in New York, I am a dead Knicks cheerleader. Yes, okay. So now that we have that out of the way, my kid is a dead Jalen Brunson, so we kind of match.
Yeah.
But no, happy Halloween. We are going to talk all things Diddy right now, and how fitting for Diddy that his first day in his new home, a federal prison in New Jersey, is on Halloween, because I'm sure it's very scary. So finally, he is at his new home until, as the Bureau of Prison website says, until May of 2028.
May of
This factors
2028.
in his time served, serving 85% for possibly good behavior, and he was placed there. His team had requested this placement because they felt like it was a good fit. It's a minimum security prison. They thought that he didn't really need to be with other inmates who really have nothing to lose at a maximum security prison who might be serving, 35 plus years for Red Rum. Also, it was said to have a good drug therapy program to help him stay off drugs, stay clean, and also it's close to his family, who is mainly in New York. Sorry, this scar is so funny. As I'm looking at myself, I'm like, wow, I did a good job with this one. Really look dead. No, just kidding. So yes, he his first day was yesterday, October 30th, and I mean, we'll see what happens. He has also fast-tracked his appeal. Alexander Shapiro filed a motion to fast-track this. The government did not oppose this, which he signaled to the Board of Appeals that, yeah, this makes sense to appeal this, also because appeals can take years, and he could be out of prison in 1 to 2 years. So again, I do most likely see this appeal happening quicker than I think a lot of people thought. So we'll see what happens there. And I also want to share with you all an interview I did yesterday with an ex-inmate at MDC who was in the same unit as Diddy, and also he served as Diddy's teaching assistant. Diddy created a program while he was in MDC, a business leadership program, where it was, Guy told me, it was every Friday, and it was a 2-hour course, and apparently it was crazy because for this course, they got Bloods, Crips, MS-13 members, all these gang members in the same room to learn from Diddy. So this guy ends up telling me all of this stuff yesterday. He actually clears up the knife to the neck incident, which it's not how it went down at all. I was surprised. I was also surprised that, not making a thing about this, I was surprised that people weren't talking about this interview, or it didn't get, recycled throughout different media outlets, because when the Daily Mail reported on the recycled knife story, it went viral. It went crazy. And I actually have factual information here. Like, this guy, this inmate, he was vetted. He literally, he even wrote a sentencing letter, or a letter on behalf of Diddy for sentencing, because he said how much Diddy changed his life. So I will go through, actually, you know what? I'll play the clip as well, where he sort of clarifies the knife incident. But he discussed how truly Diddy changed his life by teaching him this course and just giving him life advice and whatnot. And, you know, I was curious about just Diddy in general, his demeanor in jail, if he, you know, he's giving everybody advice. I was just curious, you know, did he ever reflect on himself, his own decisions? Did he seem regretful at all? And, you know, this guy, whose name is Raymond Castillo, he explained all of that. So you can actually go to lamag.com to read the article, and then it will link out to the actual video podcast as well. So I thought it was interesting as well, because Castillo told me that sometimes he would find Diddy walking in big laps in circles, and they'd be like, hey dude, like, what is this guy doing? And Diddy would just be like, yeah, I'm just, you know, I'm having a long conversation with God right now. But a lot of people would see this and be like, you know, homie's losing it. But, you know, I asked, were people impressed with him? Did they not like him just for who he is? Whatever. And he said that at first, people, you know, they didn't want to like kiss his butt. They were kind of like, you know, whatever. And then they got to know him, and he was very humbled, as you can imagine, in jail. And then they all kind of were like, okay, he's okay. And Castillo told me that many of these guys grew up listening to him and listening to his music. So they couldn't really, you know, they couldn't believe it. They referred to him as King. And I say this because he kind of not slipped up, but he's talking and telling a story to me. And he says, oh yeah. And I said, hey, King, to Diddy or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. So they also referred to him as King. And he clears up the knife incident. I'm going to play a short that I posted on Twitter yesterday. This is really interesting because we were told by media outlets, and, you know, this kind of came from his lawyers, who may not have gotten the entire story correct. Not may not, they didn't, because Brian Steele spoke about this incident during the sentencing, saying, you know, Diddy's life is in danger. And don't get me wrong, he still had a knife pulled on him. It just wasn't the way that it went down that we were told. So yeah, we were told he woke up to a knife at his neck and a guard stopped it. Not what happened. Raymond Castillo tells me what happened because he was there and he wrote this up. This is only a 1 minute clip, but I'll go on to tell you a little bit more after I play this. Oh, and it's me. Hold on. I'll get, as usual, guys, wait for me to get this up. Sorry.
He did it with
I'm gonna.
He did it with I'm the one that.
Sorry. Let me start all over. My gosh. Okay.
He did it with Ghost with no knife to his neck. The incident, I would call the incident. I'm the one that intervened when the incident was going on. He was watching TV actually when this happened. He was watching Basketball Wives.
Sorry.
And this West Coast gang member that was serving 30 years walked up to him and was really trying to take a chair from him that Diddy was already sitting on. The incident happened over a chair that nobody owns, that the facility owns. So he was trying to take this chair from Diddy. So Diddy, and mind you, Diddy wasn't scared. Diddy didn't flinch. He just stared the guy down. I said, the guy, your homeboy, why you coming at me like that about a chair that don't belong to none of us? Just can't watch TV. And the guy got hostile. I don't know if he was trying to look for some clout or he was having a bad day. He got hostile with Diddy. But this is where I've seen Diddy's actual change. When the guy was getting hostile, Diddy tried to spread love to the guy and talk some positivity to the guy. He didn't wake up with no knife.
Yeah. So when he said that, I mean, there was many things that I took away from this. By the way, I mean the fact that he was watching Basketball Wives, I had to laugh. I was like, wow. Also, isn't it crazy? Like jail and prison, it's like you're around a bunch of toddlers. It's like, that's my chair. No, that's my chair. I mean, really? So anyway, Raymond goes on to tell me that, you know, he stood in the middle of these guys and was like trying to break it up. And that Diddy tells this guy after, like, yo, dude, you need God. And then he goes on to tell me that Diddy stuck up for this guy, the West Coast gang member who pulled the knife on him. Like, they were going to transfer him, whatever. And Diddy's like, no, just let him stay. Who cares? Listen, this guy was vetted, Raymond Castillo. He is not being paid. I mean, I don't know what he has to gain from saying this, especially because he said, I asked him in the interview, you can watch it. I said, are you still talk to him? And he's like, no. So, yeah, I don't know what he would have to gain from that. That's all I'm going to say. So I encourage everybody to watch the full interview. I mean, I definitely got a lot of hate, which is interesting. You know, I, as a journalist, as a reporter, I want to find people like Raymond. I want to find jurors. I want to find people that, you know, have direct experience with defendants or with, you know, people in certain cases. And I don't think that reporters or journalists should be penalized for that.
Absolutely not. I don't think so either.
Was convicted of doing something, you know, not great, very bad. You know, obviously we all saw the video of Cassie. That's horrific.
Excuse me, you guys are reporting.
However, I don't know what this guy's going to say to me, right? When I interview him, he tells me all this stuff. I'm reacting, and that's that. So I always find it interesting. People are like, you know, it's not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure, but like, I'm so disappointed in you and I'm like, okay. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, when this guy tells me something that Diddy said, am I supposed to say, you're lying? You're a liar. He's a piece of crap. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't anyway. But you guys know that I am all over Diddy, his case, his story, his coverage. I will keep everybody posted there. And have a happy Halloween, okay? Have a safe and happy Halloween. And I will see you guys Monday. Don't forget to like and subscribe to LA Magazine. I'm Lauren Conlin. Thanks for being here.
One of the most overpriced things I have ever seen be sold repetitively is men's razors.
Hey everyone, I'm here with a quick video on Diddy. Diddy has left New York City and has crossed the bridge over to...
This hack will have people believing you have photographic memory. Throw away your sticky notes and uninstall your Notes app.
Welcome to TMZ Live. Gayle King may be the latest victim of layoffs at CBS. It is unclear And it seems from what we got from her today that what's being said inside the building is different than what's being said outside.
Very different. And you're about to hear, we got Gail as she was leaving the CBS studio this morning. And it's pretty clear she's ticked off about these reports that she is on the outs because basically she's saying what they're saying to my face does not match the media. Here's what she had to say.
You're all wondering if you might be going in another direction. Do you have an answer as of yet? All I've been told by everybody in this building is that they want me here. They like the job I'm doing. I like the job I'm doing. I'll say this. I like the job and the people that I work with. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you guys, but what I'm hearing in the building is not what I'm reading in the press. And what I'm not going to do is negotiate in the media. I'm not doing that. All right. Do you have an idea like what things might look like in May if the show's going in another direction? I have no idea. All I know is I am here. I am here and glad to be here. It's all about me. I'm going to continue to do my job. They wish me well.
She used one word that makes me think. There is a word there. The word is negotiate. She said, is up in May. She said, I'm not going to negotiate in public.
And it makes me think when she said that, I thought what she was actually saying is maybe this is some ploy on their part to try and that it is like them starting negotiations by planting something out there.
Well, look,
maybe she thinks, I don't know, but
there is
right.
There is a story out there that she's being taken off the morning show, but they're trying to find another place for her within CBS network, and that you could argue that the negotiation would be, does she continue doing that? At what rate? All of that. Yeah, but she seems to be saying that so far they haven't played their cards. And look, I've worked in enough newsrooms, and you have too, but I've worked I remember some TV newsrooms where what happens is there are rumors that go around. Oftentimes the rumors are true, but the management won't talk about it until they actually pull the trigger. And it may be that that's going on now because the stories that are out there, they're citing sources within the network. So it could be that those sources are saying, here's the handwriting that's on the wall, but they haven't announced that yet to the talent in the building. Right. Which we don't know, or it's just not true.
There's been a lot of shakeups at CBS just after the merger.
Well, also they have a new president of news, Barry Weiss, and she is causing quite the stir within the building. A lot of her views don't necessarily align with the views of especially the old timers there. And there have been layoffs already at CBS.
And they're also the lowest rated morning show, CBS is.
Which is absolutely true.
Which is, I'm sure, what, that's part of the marching orders that Barry Weiss has. We can't be the lowest rated.
Their PR team is denying all of this as well. They're saying
they said flat out no.
They said that, I believe that they did say that, right? They said that this was not true. The PR team came out with a statement to Brendan yesterday.
Yeah, they came out with a statement that said we are not. We have no plans. Basically saying we have no plans at this point to move on from Gail.
And for them to speak, because if you're going to speak, you can't say it unless it's.
You know what? That's actually, I didn't know that the PR team was that definitive.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting because I don't think they would say that and then a week later that it comes to pass. Because
or a month later.
Or a month later.
Or even,
But remember, we're right now in October, almost November, and this is May we're talking about.
They're saying there has been no discussion with Gail about her contract that runs through May 2026. So
listen to the way there's been no discussion with her about her contract. No discussion.
She's truly valued part of CBS, and we look forward to engaging with her about her future.
That doesn't say the story's not true.
And that's what Gail is pointing
They're refuting
to,
it,
is
though.
that people are saying to me, everything's great, we love you, but she's been around, she knows the business, that there could be people talking at CBS about making a change. They just haven't brought it to her or her representative.
That's really interesting.
Is a PR statement dancing around.
That is a PR statement saying, yeah, Gail's right. We haven't talked to her yet. But that doesn't mean that the stories...
So and if you read it quickly, they are refuting it. But if you really look into it, they're not.
They're not.
Hi, it's T-Rex from Gulf Shores, Alabama, and I want to talk about Gail King. It is surprising to hear about the potential shakeups. Gail has been a constant delivering news and with heart and integrity. It's clear that CBS is in a period of transformation. Whatever happens, Gail's impact on morning news is undeniable, and I'm intrigued to see what she has coming up next.
Yeah, I got to say, that statement from the PR department, at first when Casey said that, I thought,
please spend a night with my daughter. She is a...
That's actually an interesting question, right? Yeah, I don't know. Do they just say here? Or do they, just take out the dryer? Like, no, that's what I'm saying.
No, but better to fold. You don't want to handle the dirty stuff.
I'm actually really serious. Do they go through the nicety of folding?
I think so. You think they just go grab it off the
I don't know.
That's possible.
I don't know.
Hey, it's Elise from New York. So he went from designer closets to now folding people's dirty laundry. I guess Bad Boy for Life is out and Bad Boy Wellness is officially in. But hey, maybe Diddy's, this is his way of cleaning up his act, literally.
Well, or you could look at it this way, that cleaning up other people. The other inmates are saying, I have Sean John clothing now.
Yeah, prison in New Jersey.
Cardi B and
Locked in
Offset have a
prison, New
weird
Jersey.
way of moving on from each other. Offset dropped a new song. It's called No Sweat. And it is pretty clear that he is sweating Cardi's new relationship with Stephon Diggs. Be right back. Cardi B and Offset have a weird way of moving on from each other. They keep talking about each other, in particular in their music. And Offset dropped a new song. It's called No Sweat. And it is pretty clear that he is sweating Cardi's new relationship with Stephon Diggs, the New England Patriots wide receiver. So here are I mean, it's very clearly, no, he doesn't say, oh, it's Offset. Cardi. He doesn't say Cardi. But they're very clear reference, no doubt.
On the way to the money, no stopping. Please Jordan for robbing. You a fool if you think that I'm hurt. You ain't happy, I know how it works. How you married is still giving.
We're now learning when Sean Diddy Combs could be out of prison. The music mogul.
I'm still standing.
Everything is more expensive. Cars, groceries, and healthcare. Congressman Ryan McKenzie already voted to raise healthcare costs. Now Republicans in Congress want to make healthcare more expensive and shut down the government to do it. Tell McKenzie, stop increasing our costs.
Right.
And welcome in here to Live Now from Fox as you're taking a live look there out of New York here this morning, where we continue to follow the latest with Sean Diddy Combs after he was sentenced yesterday to 4 years and 2 months in prison for transporting people across state lines for sexual encounters. While prosecutors sought a sentence of more than 11 years, his lawyers wanted him freed immediately and said the time behind bars has led to his remorse and sobriety. Combs was convicted in July of flying his girlfriends and male sex workers around the country to engage in drug-fueled sexual encounters in multiple places and over many years. However, he was acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering charges that could have put him behind bars for life. To break this all down for us here is a friend of the show, Jeremy Rosenthal. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Live Now. We appreciate it.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Well, I want to recap this for the viewers here, but let's start with this. When we were initially covering this yesterday, we had heard that this could have gone on past yesterday, could have potentially even gone into Monday, but we did see the sentencing wrap up there yesterday. So what led to this being decided so quickly here? And was it surprising to you that this wrapped up?
Actually, it's not surprising at all. I want to say that I'm kind of surprised in some ways that it took as long as it did. Federal judges do sentencing very routinely, and a federal judge has really almost exclusive ability to decide somebody's punishment. So these hearings are very routine. And when somebody either has a trial or if they even plead guilty, most of the case is handled at this phase. Now, obviously, there's a big circus here. There's a lot of witnesses here. So there was a lot more pomp and circumstance. But what happens is when you have somebody who is like Combs and you have this instance, it's really hard to sort of keep this circus going for more than 1, more than 2, more than 3 days. His trial certainly did, but that's much different because you've got jurors, you've got all of the other witnesses that you're balancing, and all of the complications for a trial. So a full day is about par for the course. And I don't know that this would have really stretched much into next week. Again, I think Diddy had a great day of court. Now, it doesn't feel like a win. He's still in prison. A year from now, it's still going to feel like a loss, and a year after that. But look, at the beginning of this trial, when he is facing all the sex trafficking, all of the charges, and the full weight of the government, search warrants, raids on multiple houses at the same time, all of these things that we hear about, you're thinking a 10, 20, 30-year sentence. And to get out of it with just about 4 years, 50 months, I think is a pretty good job by his legal team.
And Jeremy, as you just said there, prosecutors, they were looking for a sentence of more than 11 years. He got just about over 4 years. So was this sentence surprising to you all? And what factors might have influenced the judge's decision to impose a lesser sentence?
So the other day I told you guys about Whatnot and how it's a platform where you can literally buy anything. Well, this is what I bought from.
Federal sentencing goes by what are called the federal sentencing guidelines, and the federal sentencing guidelines are basically think of a matrix or a grid. There is literally an x-axis and a y-axis, and on one axis is your criminal history, and then on the other axis is the severity of the charge. And basically, you get assigned or assessed points based on the statute, based on the punishment level. Also, you get points for your criminal history if you've been in trouble before this event, and you get other points in the mix, which that's kind of where a lot of the nasty fighting is are you an organizer? Are there multiple victims? Did you do this? Did you do that? Were there weapons involved? These things can sort of enhance, and you can actually get points taken down if you cooperate with the government, if you testify against a co-defendant.
Oh, wow.
So Diddy's charge, when the calculation was done, the federal sentencing guidelines put him between 5 and 7 years. So even though the government's arguing for 11, and even though his lawyers are arguing for time served, I think that most people, most lawyers, most experts, when we looked at this, kind of felt like it was going to land between 5 and 7, maybe 4 and 8, if the judge sort of departs just a little bit on either side. So from that standpoint, it's not particularly surprising. And on appeal, what Diddy's going to argue is he's going to say those guidelines were wrong. He's going to say those guidelines really should have had me at 2 or 3 years. That's standard stuff.
Right. And I wanted to quickly ask you, though, he's already served a year in jail. So how does that factor into his sentence and the time he's going to have to spend in jail?
He's going to get time credit for everything that he has already served. So if he gets a 50-month sentence, I believe he's already had 14. I went to Texas Tech, so I'm good at numbers. I want to say that's 36 months left that he has to do. But then what's important also is that he's going to get what's called post-trial or post-sentence supervision. So what's going to happen is that he's actually going to be on release, and he's actually going to be sort of on parole for about 5 years after he is released. And if he violates, he could still go back to prison. So even though he gets out, he still has to check in with functionally a parole officer,
5-year probation.
federal probation.
That's a setup. And a mistake you made going back to prison for a long time.
Completely done. But he does have the opportunity to make good on everything that he told the judge yesterday about how he's redeemed, how he's sober, how this has been a big turning point in his life. He's going to have a chance to put his money where his mouth is.
If you break it,
and you mentioned appeal, and I want to talk about what now that is going to look like. What are the strategies that his lawyers are going to try to implement here? What is the thought process that goes into that?
You're going to appeal multiple things. You're going to appeal the original trial, even though you were very successful, even though you were acquitted on certain charges, you're still going to appeal the trial. You're still going to appeal things that you felt like the judge did incorrectly in the guilt innocence phase. And then on punishment, you're also going to say, look, the federal sentencing guidelines should have had me lower. Also, another really kind of controversial thing in the sentencing, the judge kind of indicated that he thought that Diddy sort of was coercive, was manipulative. He kind of hinted or leaned into the fact that, look, even though the jury acquitted you of this human trafficking, I'm not necessarily convinced that you're innocent of that. That's very controversial because if you are under the law, if they prove you guilty and you are found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, at that point you can consider that type of aggravating information. And because the jury acquitted him of it, is that proper for the judge to consider? Under federal law, it is, but it's really kind of a borderline thing. And I'm sure the federal judge is very, very careful in his words in sentencing Diddy, because you don't necessarily want to get reversed. So the fact that he is acquitted of the trafficking wasn't necessarily disregarded by the judge, and the judge still kind of held that against him. That's almost certainly going to be a ground for Diddy to appeal.
Yeah, their lawyer gonna appeal, but that's a set of five-year probation. One mistake you made, you going right back to break your probation.
I think we have to mention here, this was a really big piece of all of this. The jury repeatedly shown video clips of Combs dragging and beating Cassie in a Los Angeles hotel hallway after one of those multi-day sexual marathons, if we can call it that, which were referred to as freak-offs. Cassie Ventura and other key witnesses expressing concerns for their safety now. But can you elaborate on the impact of Cassie's testimony as well as some of the others, and really how much of an impact that did have on this case?
Certainly it had a big one because I think the judge definitely sort of expressed that. And when you're Diddy and your Diddy's team, especially in the punishment phase and in the sentencing, they had a video, 12 minutes, talked about philanthropy, talked about all of the influence that Diddy's had, what he's tried to do well. Also live testimony from his family. I believe just as much as you can sort of pour on. Diddy doing what's called an allocution. That's where you're allowed to talk to the judge directly before your sentence, sobbing. So even doing all of those things and making all of those points and still getting kind of a stiff prison sentence. You know that Cassie Ventura, you know that a lot of the things that the judge saw were certainly taken into consideration. And you would also think that those had a long way of going into the federal sentencing guidelines, because those are produced by the federal probation officers. That's who calculates the guidelines. And then the lawyers have a chance to sort of argue that in front of the judge, and the judge ultimately figures that out. But all of these things, the fact that these are very human charges, that video, I think is obviously very damning. And I think the judge thought so as well. Again, kind of a win for Diddy in the big scheme of things from a 40,000 foot view. But from his point of view, certainly doesn't feel like that today or next month or in a year. But ultimately, I think that the testimony did have a long way to go in shaping kind of the big picture of this trial.
Before I let you go, Jeremy, just to clarify for our viewers here, because we were talking about an appeal, what does this timeline look like going forward? What can we expect going forward?
A federal appeal takes a while, and it's going to take, it could take upwards of 9 months. It could take close to a year. It could take even longer before we hear back. So P. Diddy's not going anywhere. He's going to be serving out his prison sentence. He's got 36 months to go, and then he's got that release. The appellate process is going to be, it's going to take a while. And I don't know that he's got really any wonderful grounds for appeal. One of the big grounds for appeal is typically going to be punishment, and you're almost always fighting over the federal sentencing guidelines and whether or not those were calculated correctly. He got, not only were the calculations kind of low, this was a 20-year sentence potentially. And for the guidelines to put in between 5 and 7 years, I think are low. And then the judge went even below that. So I don't know that he's going to have really wonderful grounds on appeal. He's going to be almost certainly fighting over rulings and things that the judge sort of talked about during the trial, during the case in chief. And that's just going to take a couple of years or at least a year to kind of iron out. So I think that this story is probably going to die down for a minute, but in 36 months, Diddy's going to be a free man, and he's going to be able to go out there and
Why in 6 months?
do
Oh my God.
whatever he
He's gonna be a
feels is
free man.
right. Maybe more music. Maybe he's going to lean into to the arts.
Oh my God,
maybe
Diddy
he's
gonna be
gonna make
free
good on
early
some of
though.
these
You're not
promises.
staying long in prison. Wow.
I think we all hope at a minimum that happens.
All right,
Oh
Jeremy
my God.
Rosenthal, appreciate you coming on the show again. You've been joining us the past several days, so we do appreciate it.
Thank you, Christy.
Did you know Colonial Penn offers guaranteed acceptance life insurance for those aged 50 to 85 in most states? So if you're concerned about pre-existing conditions or qualifying for a traditional life insurance, we've got your back. No health questions or medical exams can mean fast approval. We don't need much from you to apply. And our simple app.
Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs was condemned to over 4 years in prison on Friday. The sentence comes after his conviction of charges related to prostitution involving two former girlfriends. Prosecutors had sought an 11-year term, citing his history of domestic violence, while his defense asked for 14 months.
After the sentencing, we heard from Combs' attorneys as they spoke with my colleague, Kara Scannell.
It's absolutely wrong. The jury verdict was disregarded, and it's not supposed to happen. You shouldn't do that. Going to trial is already hard enough. When the jury speaks, you need to listen.
I think it sends the wrong message to people. This is wrong. We have to change the way we look at it. We are incarcerating way too many people. So 2 years is an eternity in custody.
A jury, of course, had acquitted Diddy of the more serious crimes he had been charged with, like sex trafficking and racketeering. But before the sentence was handed down today, after hours of hearing from attorneys inside the courtroom, it was Diddy's turn to address the court. And he cried as he addressed his mother, as he begged the judge for mercy. He said, and I'm quoting him now, "I don't have nobody to blame but myself. I know I'll never put my hands on another person again. I know that I've learned my lesson. I'm willing to comply with any conditions the court puts upon me." He also apologized to Cassie Ventura, saying, quote, "I lost my self-respect. I've been humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now. I got stripped down to nothing." I want to write to our CNN legal analyst, Joey Jackson, CNN's senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, and also Elizabeth Wagmeister, who's been all day inside the courtroom and has been covering this trial as closely as anyone. And you were actually inside the room as this was handed down. What was that like inside there?
You know what's interesting, Caitlin? The whole day was very emotional. You had 5 of Diddy's attorneys each speak at length for 30 to 45 minutes each. There were tears. One of his attorneys was sobbing when she was speaking about how inspired she was by her client. And as you said, we saw Diddy cry at one point. But when the sentence was handed down, almost no emotion. He was very, very stoic. When he walked out of the courtroom, he did turn around to his kids and his family, and he made a gesture that kind of made it seem like he was signaling to them it will be okay, but no tears, no big reaction.
Well, the judge seemed to be a big focal point of today, and what he was saying in terms of speaking not only to the women who came forward here, but also to Diddy himself.
Yes, so he did speak a lot about the women who came forward, both Cassie Ventura and Jane, neither of whom were there. They did not show up to make victim impact statements, though Cassie did write a letter. But the judge spoke to Diddy, and he said, "I agree with your defense that you have accomplished great things. You've inspired so many, but that does not negate your horrific acts." And he actually said to him, "What was the reason that your abuse was able to continue for so long?" Well, it's because of your power and your resources and the fact that you didn't get caught. But then at the end, when it was really the last few minutes of the sentencing hearing, he actually said to Diddy, "Yes, this is hard time. It's 4 years, but you will get through this with your family, and you can really make a difference in the world." So he ended the hearing on a very uplifting note.
Yeah, I mean, as the two of you were watching this, our legal experts, do you think that the judge made a good call here?
I think the sentence, when you actually consider what Sean Combs was convicted of by the jury, I think the sentence was harsh. I think it was within the range of reason,
but harsh. But to me, the biggest takeaway from this whole thing is that the Southern District of New York, my old office, overreached. They overreached at every step of this case. They overcharged it. And that's not an opinion anymore. The jury rejected the 3 top charges. And again, that's not just after the fact. I think both of us were on record at the time saying it was overcharged. They overtried the case. There's no reason a 1 defendant, 3 victim case needs to take 6 weeks by 6 prosecutors. I tried a case once with 5 defendants on trial at once, at least 20 victims. I did it with 1 other prosecutor, same amount of time. They overtried it. And with their sentencing request of 11 years, that's ridiculous.
What do you mean they overtried it? Like they took too long?
They took too long. They put too many people on it. They let in too many extraneous details. They should have just cut right to, we used to say thin to win. Get right to it. That's it. Instead, there was too much detail that did not go to the heart of the case. And finally, the 11-year sentencing request was ridiculous, embarrassing. And the judge went most of the way, not all the way, but much closer to the defense request. And 11 years, and again, for being convicted of interstate prostitution, that's a ridiculous request and it backfired.
Joey, what was your takeaway?
So people will ask, hey, what about this particular sentence? If you look at this on balance and put it in perspective, he is a big winner today. Let me explain why. When we started out this trial with regard to the racketeering charges, he's running a criminal enterprise, he was facing life in jail. In addition to life in jail, which his liberty interest would have been gone, he was facing the forfeiture of all of his assets. Yeah. Now, right, he meets the charges, he gets sentenced now on number 2, transportation for prostitution. So now you're saying, well, what's going to happen now? You have the prosecutors that have asked for 11 years. I agree with Ellie. That was way overreach. That just as the case was way overreach.
What do you think would have been a better...
I think you have to stick with the guidelines. So just to be clear, Caitlin, you have these federal guidelines. And what they are is they're just advisory. And they exist so that you have some uniformity in sentencing. You don't want disparate sentences. One defendant gets 10, another gets 5. No, you have guidelines so it's somewhat even. They tried to go outside of the guidelines to bring in all types of issues for which the jury has made a decision. And the jury said, no, we're not convicting on that. So why are you going and suggesting that